Well, they are selfish because they're focused on their needs instead of on the wonderful provision of God that they've received. If they fill their life with thanks, they will know the abundance that they have and therefore be more charitable, more able to give, more loving. You see, if you attract to you people that are still feel they're in need, their need crowds out their love. So they have a whole swathe of people in the world from their point of view that don't deserve to share the shortages that they experience. Sorry, let me put that more clearly. Don't deserve to share the goodness that's in short supply. It's not in short supply, that's the reality, but they're trained to see what's wrong instead of training to see all the wonderful things that are provided by God, life itself, and the abundance of all the help that we get. If they focus on that, then they will realize they are rich. And a rich person can be generous, and therefore not write off the poor, not dismiss them as simply getting their just deserts or karma, but instead be free to help them in compassion. That, they need help, they need provision. And our joy is in bringing them up in a standard of living that's comparable to ours, even though ours might seem to others to go down. We now actually feel richer because we've got these lovely friends that we're in fellowship with and help. Now, unfortunately, they're not lovely necessarily until they are doing what you're doing, which is filling their life with thanks and praise to God, and to indeed all other life around them. Because if you look at our material welfare and our, not just our total welfare, human, interactive, social, mental and spiritual and general fellowship, its wealth is in those around us. But of course, if those around us feel they're in desperate need, then they can't give and share with us. They just take and dismiss the needs of those around them because they are in scarcity themselves. So someone like my friend Jeff, he does love others, and so he wants to cast out all their fears and troubles and demons as he sees it, and he does so, and he gathers to himself a whole host of people, but many of them are still extremely focused on their needs and their shortages, and they keep bringing their needs to him because they're not focusing on all the goodness that God has given them. So they are a tremendous burden on him instead of a tremendous blessing. In the short run, they're very grateful for his gift, his rescue, casting out demons and bringing them into feeling the presence of goodness. But they don't practice gratitude and thankfulness. They only respond to the immediate receiving So they fall into need again and come to him to have that need met. So you get this vast following of people who remain in constantly relapsing into need and are not loving in themselves, only grateful for the emergency services that they keep demanding and receiving from Jeff. But they're not loving each other, you see. On the contrary, they're focusing on the difficulties that they have with each other instead of the blessing. Jeff too gets distracted by the great need around him, which of course is not focusing on the abundance of God. So he struggles to equate at least or outweigh the tremendous needs that keep being brought to him against the great provision that God gives in healing and meeting those needs. He's more than a priest, a pastor, than in fellowship with, because they're not living the way he lives, so he's not in fellowship. Whereas if he were only focusing in his church on those that are transformed in gratitude, into gratitude, then of course he would be simply an equal among equals, not a pastor. Well, I said only there, didn't I? But it's the best thing, of course. It's the true. He's in a true fellowship of equals, which is, of course, the very practice of the mature host of heaven. So you are to be in fellowship with those who are in gratitude to God. And then there's a wall around those to protect them, in a sense, from all the calls that will be on them that would drain, so to speak, their vitality. So what we give is not casting out, is not healing. We give a teaching that brings spirit of gratitude to the lost. They're lost in finding fault. And we bring to them a new way of life, which is to find good and to rejoice in the good, being thankful to God. So we train people to be thinking upon whatsoever is good and lovely, that they be transformed into light and can come into the fold of heaven, come into the true church, you see, not the world church. The world church distributes help to the poor. The true church is the fellowship of those who are in great gratitude to God, filled with such a gratitude, they are happy to give and have the surplus to give. But it must not be wasted upon those that are not filled with gratitude. We rescue as they ask, but we train them to be thankful if they receive the training and become thankful, they will have the same abundance as us. Well, really it's to say they will recognize the same abundance as us in their lives and be in true fellowship with us. If they simply take the help that we give, they will remain in ever-nagging need. There'll be another need next week and the week after, and so on. They remain outside the kingdom, you see, outside of the church. So the church constantly reaches out to the poor, but should not impoverish itself. It goes into the world to help and to bless, but its fellowship is not in the world with the people that are not filled with gratitude to God continuously as a way of life. That is the transformation, to become a person of gratitude that appreciates all the good that God gives. Thank you, Heavenly Father. You see, people are crushed by their ability to see what's lacking in their life and what's wrong around them, and their ability to see what could go wrong in the future and to be concerned about it, and to be concerned too about what may have gone wrong in the past. And it's the preoccupation with these things that cause them to be unloving. And to be unloving is to cause yourself to be isolated, without true fellowship of those that can bless and will bless, because they are full of gratitude to God and to man and to nature. So thankful that in their wealth they give time and attention and blessing. But you are not in fellowship with them because you are not of the same practice. And you can be. You can simply choose to be a person who ever seeks out that which is the good and the lovely around them, and thanks God for it, and is filled with gratitude, is appreciative of all the blessings of the universe that God has made, and your position in it, and the thoughts He gives you. And you find your thoughts are thoughts of gratitude, thoughts of blessing, goodness, the loveliness of all, rather than the faults of all. You see, we are in a world where there's both good and evil. You can focus on the evil and be dragged down, or you can focus on the good and be lifted high, higher than high. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Now you must guard yourself against being in fellowship with those who are not full of gratitude to God, else you will be pulled down by their sapping of your strength and their bad influence. So we put a wall up. Now this is not a blessing to those that are lost outside the wall. But you do need to be sparing in how much mission you involve yourself in, or you will be dragged down and impoverished. So, you give conditionally, not a condition that says they will give back, but a condition that they be transformed so that they are not constantly looking for the harm and the problems and protecting themselves against such, but constantly looking, seeking out whatsoever is good and lovely, and thinking on these things and being filled with gratitude that they be transformed from children into adults. My little girl comes to me and says, I'm bored. And what she needs to be doing is thinking, what's good and lovely that I can thank God for? And she will become involved in life that way. And she will not be bored, but full of joy and happiness and a blessing to all who come near her. So she needs to seek out my company to be lifted. And of course our children do that. They seek out the company of the one that lifts them. Can be their friends, can be their mum, dad, auntie, granddad, can be their pet dog. Anything that lifts them out into joy and happiness. They need to cultivate, you see, within them this propensity to be filled with awareness and gratitude for all that is good, rather than filled with this amazing ability to notice all the faults, all the lack. It's as simple as that. Thank you, Heavenly Father. So what do people need to be rescued from? From their propensity to find out everything that's wrong and to dwell on such. They need to find out, seek out everything that's good and think on that. When a person comes to you with a need, their real need is that they are not transformed into this positive attitude to life. We can meet their emergency needs, but it won't change their fundamental propensity to continue in need until they grasp this true need, which is to be filled with gratitude, thankfulness to God, and nature and man and all the blessings that they experience. And then their life will be transformed. They will be